In this video, I want to talk about travel. I am currently in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, scouting out this location for a potential move abroad. And something that I've realized is that my anxiety followed me. But anxiety is something I've struggled with, and I know that is the case for so many other people. And we still like to travel, right? We still want to travel, but sometimes our anxiety gets in the way. Our anxiety of not knowing what to expect, not knowing how institutions and things function when you go to another country. And I think that holds a lot of us back from traveling. So I wanted to provide this perspective, these 8 tips that I can share with y'all about how to travel when you have anxiety, because you can still travel. It is possible. You don't have to cross this off your list. You don't have to think traveling is not for you if you have anxiety. You may just have to do things a little differently than the average person. So my first tip for traveling with anxiety is to have a plan. So if at all possible, have an agenda of places you're going to stay. I know that helps me a lot when you're entering into a new environment, sometimes those anxious feelings can pop up around not knowing what it's going to be like, where you're going to go. So if you have a plan already set in place, where you're going to stay, what things you want to check out, a basic itinerary I find helps me a lot, just to know like the times and dates of places I'm traveling to before I actually get there. I find that helps me a lot, so that may be something to do if you have anxiety before you actually get to your destination. Just have a plan in place. And the second tip I have, going right along with that, is know that your plan will likely disintegrate right in front of you. When you travel, you have to be prepared for things to not go according to plan, which I know for those of us who have anxiety is a very difficult thing to even think about, right? Because we like to know how things are going to go. Even though we can't predict the future. We like to be as sure as possible about how things are going to go, what we might encounter. And unfortunately or fortunately, because it is a growth exercise, when you travel, you cannot plan for everything. And the plans that you do make can go out the window at any point. You know, your flight can get delayed. The hotel, the Airbnb that you're staying at might not be what you thought it would be, even after all the research you did, all the planning you did. So just be prepared for potentially your plan. You may have to, create a new plan or just go without a plan, but know that you have all the tools in place to do either. Whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. My third tip is to be flexible. So a lot of the times when we have anxiety, we have these very rigid ways about how we think things are supposed to go, how we feel comfortable with things going. And the thing that travel really invites you to do is to be flexible. Be flexible with how you live, how you spend your day, how you spend your money, how you spend your time, who you interact with, what things you do. Maybe these things are completely different from what you would typically do at home. But just to have that sense of openness and flexibility, I think is so important. And I know that is not the easiest thing when you have anxiety. But just trying to lean into the possibilities of what might happen that might be great. I know for myself, I tend to lean on the side of what could go wrong, what could just absolutely blow up. And I know that, might be relatable to a lot of y'all. Think about what could happen that could be awesome, that could be great, that could be life-changing in such a positive way and completely change your outlook. If you were just open to the possibilities and flexible and adaptable. The next tip is to travel with someone if possible. This might not always be possible if you are a solo traveler, which I so applaud you. I have only traveled domestically by myself. I have not traveled internationally by myself. That is a huge feat, so I'm applauding you if you are a solo traveler. But if possible, if it makes you feel more comfortable, you can try a group trip. There are retreats everywhere. If you feel more comfortable doing like a retreat, a group trip, traveling with family, traveling with friends, a friend, a family member. It doesn't have to be a lot of people. It can just be one person that you can tell beforehand, like, hey, I have anxiety, so I might be a little extra sometimes when I do things, just be prepared for that. Someone who's supportive, understanding. You don't want someone who brings more stress to your life, to the trip, because that will only further exacerbate your anxiety. My next tip is to take it slowly. This is something I have been telling myself since I've been in Playa del Carmen. Um, because I got here and I started working immediately on my online business, and YouTube being a part of that. But take it slowly. You are traveling, right? It's supposed to be enjoyable. You don't want to rush into things. You don't want to have the pressure on you that I feel like sometimes happens when we go to new locations. We feel this pressure like we have to do all the things, we have to take all the pictures, do all the social posts. But take it slowly. It's okay to rest. It's okay to have downtime. Um, and this feeds right into my next tip, which is tip number 6: build in time for rest and solo time. So if you have anxiety and you're an introvert like me, you need a lot of alone time. You need time to recuperate, especially if you're going to a crowded place. Playa del Carmen can get a little bit crowded on Fifth Avenue, which is the main tourist street, but you need that time to decompress. So be sure to build that in. If you do have a plan, if you do have an itinerary, build that time to rest in your travel plans. So block off time to just sit and do nothing if you need to. Sit on the balcony, sit outside, walk leisurely, take your time, pace yourself. One of the things about travel is that you're supposed to be able to take your time and enjoy the sights, the new sights that you haven't seen before, so that you can grow as a person. So give yourself time to experience it. There is no rush, there is no urgency. Resist all of those feelings if you can, and just enjoy your time. Enjoy your time traveling. The next tip, 7th tip, is to be realistic. So again, this is something I've had to remind myself. Just because you're in a different country does not mean you're a different person. And I think a lot of the times we expect that to happen, right? Especially if we're exiting what was a toxic environment, toxic country even, for a new one. We think that we're going to be a completely different person, but we're not. We're the same person. We have the same likes. We have the same history. We have the same things that aggravate us. We're just in a new place. So be realistic with yourself. If you know that you're someone who doesn't like crowds, maybe you don't want to travel to a really crowded place. Or if if you like to be around people, maybe you do want to be in a crowded place. Or if you know that you need a lot of downtime, maybe don't stay in an Airbnb that's right near all of the action, right near all the tourist areas. It's only going to further, intensify, exacerbate those feelings of anxiety that you may already be dealing with. So it's important to know yourself, and be realistic about what you like, what you enjoy, and what you don't, and what irritates you, because I think that's just as important. So leads right into my last tip, my 8th tip, which is self-reflection. Self-reflection is so important. If this is your first trip out of the country, you may not even know what you like, what you enjoy, what your experience will be like in another country. That's okay. This is a perfect time to self-reflect. So if you know your likes and dislikes that you had in your country of origin, those may change and those may stay the same once you go to a different country. But just taking the time to self-reflect about your experiences, about the things you encounter. Do you like this place? Do you like the people who are there? Do you like the landscapes? All of these are really important things to reflect on, especially if you're thinking about a move abroad. So I hope this video was helpful for all my fellow travelers out there who experience anxiety. Know that just because you have anxiety does not mean you cannot travel. It may it may require some planning in advance, some flexibility, some adaptability, even, anxiety medication if you need it. But know that travel is possible. It is not out of the cards for you just because you have anxiety. And know that there are so many other people traveling who have anxiety as well. And we're all using our coping skills, using the tools that we have, the tools that we gain, as well as self-reflection, and downtime and patience. So if you've gotten this far, please like, subscribe, comment. I would love to hear your comments on this video. And yeah, until next time, thank you so much for watching.